Welcome to Wickerson Studios. Michael Wickerson here, and I am developing a kind of teaching curriculum for getting people in Grasshopper to start using Python and C# in the new script editor for Rhino 8 at the same time with common math functions. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into GitHub. You're going to want to go to my site, Michael Wickerson, and up here at the top, Michael Wickerson Python and C# in Grasshopper. And you're just going to download, there's a picture of JPEG, but you just want to get the GH function and download it and load it up. So go ahead and do that, and you'll have a file that looks just like this, which is subdivided into visualizing math with Python, and there's common function prompts on the basic and advanced level. There is a GPT transcript link, if that comes in handy for you. And we're going to be boiling these scripts in Python and in C# echoed over here with different geometries, as you can see. They both generate different things, but going off of a single node operating on a very simple text prompt, changing the text prompt either towards Python or towards C#. We're going to start with the Python. And what you want to do with this kind of boilerplate, we're going to go in and start having a look at functions like very simple common functions. We're going to start with circle. And we're going to see how GPT kind of lucidly dreams with our prompts to create some geometry. My style is, I think, unlike anybody else. It's not one that the architect or engineer or designer or artist knows what they're going to do before they start. They're simply going to start finding the art within collaborating with AI. So this is literally a collaboration on ChatGPT with OpenAI. And the one that you'll have here, the transcript, if you load it, you can go right back to the start on it. You can see that I'm going in and running simple line linear functions. And I think we'll actually start with an even more basic one, which is the basic y equals a or x equals a, depending on a Boolean toggle. And all I'm doing for a basic text prompt in here, because this one exists, is you can look through that transcript and see how it transpires and how the code is written for you. I'll show you some debugging through some operations, and we're going to go live and create functions and problem solve them in 10-20 minutes on each section. We are going to create a new chat, and we're going to jump right into it, and you're going to see how I prompt it from what I have over here. I'm not going to use these files here, but I am going to use this boilerplate to transfer this into something that's looking at circles versus this one, which was the constant function. I'm going to be looking at the circle function, and I'll show you how I do this from this boilerplate. I'm going to do this every week. We're going to trickle through a whole bunch of math proofs. We're going to get more complex as we go, and we may hit some, some stops. But I really find it's rewarding, and it will teach you how to visualize, read and write Python code, and debug that in the new script editor for Rhino 8. So that will be part one of this video, an introduction. I'm not sure if anybody's watching. It's not live. We're 3 minutes in. Let's get right into it and what it entails. So when you have this loaded up, you're probably going to want to change it to the new functions. So now I'm labeling mine pretty detailed. So one second. Those are allergies kicking in. I'm going to take this as Chapter 4's, and this is of a kind of a dominant, a massive cheat sheet in mathematics. I'm going to call this the third function, and I'm just going to look in a circle. I'm not going to type what the circle function is in mathematics, but that's going to be the reference. And then I'm going to echo that as I change each one of these text prompts. My first text prompt will still be math, area, volume, surface area. I believe, if I'm still in that section, or I might want to go into common functions, but I think it's already listed down here under circles. Common functions, I just want to change that constant function to circle, and in doing so, I'm going to take an opportunity, let me get that right. There's a little bit of fudging in the scripting tool, which gets a little tricky, but you'll change it to circle and type whatever you can to describe circles. So I'm actually going to take x minus, and I'm just looking at some nice cheat sheets on mathematics, x minus h squared. So we'll send it to the square, and you can write it in any form that the computer can kind of understand, plus y minus k, and that's going to be squared again. And then I'm going to have that equal a radius squared. And that's enough to start. That will give us a graph of a circle with radius r at center h, k. And I think I kind of messed that up. Hang on, because I was in another call. Here, that should have went to the exponent 2. So that's enough of a prompt to get this running. I'm going to see what it gives back. This was the answer, and we're going to jump into we're going to actually, before we jump into it, I'll have a parametric prompt script that asks me for inputs and outputs further along. I only do that with Python. And when you come to a script like this, what you can basically do is select the advanced script and erase it. It'll ungroup it, and you can activate the basic script, which has parameters up and running. And you might at this time want to change the name of your function to what it is, circle. And if you don't know how to change one of these script nodes through rotating through what it is, you can do that through the paintbrush. And these inputs and outputs will change. And what I want to do is clear the function that I had taken from GPT-4 and had running in that node. I'm going to clear that back to nothing required and run it so it works, because there's nothing going to it. I'm not going to do any linear point systems from here. I'm probably not going to output planes, but I am going to output into an entwine node some data, and I'll decide what to make those outputs later. So you could start with a basic script node to start, but I'm giving you a boilerplate so you don't have to go in here and grab the maths scripting node and grab this general one and start setting it up. You already have inputs, but you have to remember that the types have been set and the access points have been set already. So that can be a little tricky. You want to have a little bit of skill with GH Python or C# in Rhino 7, and you should be good to go here. So what I'm going to do is grab my text prompt, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it over into my GPT-4 text prompt under circle, and I'm going to run it. And I might bring it over so I have a bigger script to look and read. And it's going to tell me something human. Whatever language you're working in, it is describing what it wants to do for me. I've got my that page up. I've got my math cheat sheet I'm drawing from. And you'll see here that some of this text won't come out. It won't print very well when you take what it does. So what I usually do is I just grab, before it tells me what it's going to do, this is what it wants to do, to create a 3D model of a circle equation. And this is the collaboration that you're not going into it telling it exactly what to make. You're learning how to code and script and getting incredibly well-documented script. And you're learning about your data types and your access points, your inputs and outputs, and you're learning Python through this process. So we want to have our initial response here. And this is one little tricky thing with my system of boilerplate. As you put it in, you'll see the functions don't come out looking right. And this is just something you have to plug through because it's not perfect. I'm going to take that K, I'm going to remove that H, I'm going to remove this, I'm going to remove that, I'm going to remove everything up to here because it's using where H and K are. I could write this because this is R squared and it doesn't really match, but I'll probably just delete this whole section, and I know what the equation has to look like because I typed it in before. And the only other thing you have to do here, which is a little bit of a pain, is you have to decide how long you want it to be in the, and you have to cut a enter at the end of all of these scripts that aren't the end of sentences. Otherwise, your document will come out running on, and it won't really fit within that script. So you'll get used to that. It's just a little bit you have to get used to. So, and all I really want to do is put in my script that I wrote here, because I typed it out and it's coming out well. There are systems for writing script in different forms, but the equation I want to take a look at right here, I'm just going to pop it in. There it is. And now I have something to go off of. I could also type that script in here under basic script, but now, by the time I'm done setting that up, this has written a script to produce a sphere, a center point, an R, and a circle. And it wants outputs A, B, C, D capitalized. Now, without trying to go here and have it disappear, usually I do it on a second screen. I'm just going to copy the code. I'm going to take a look. It doesn't have exactly what the inputs are. Actually, it is telling me my inputs H, K, and I, the radius of a circle. I can guess at the data types, but I want to show you how I do it. I go in here and I copy this code. I go over to here and I put it in. And now I take a look if it's given me any advice. If it hasn't given me all the advice, and it's not going to run initially because it's missing some of that data and inputs, my next prompt that I like to do is going back over to this document for Python only. I like to say parametric script prompt, make this parametric and suggest the inputs and list the input data types. So I'm going to take that and grab that little prompt here, and I'm going to make that my next GPT-4 text prompt. And this gets around having to guess and do any guesswork. and it will write totally back to you in lovely human conversation exactly what it was saying to you in the script, but you can see exactly what it is. So I'm going to let that run. It's here for me to see, but I have my HKR, and usually a second screen is good because this won't disappear. And I'm going to set the coordinate center of the circle as a number, and probably treat them all as floats. And I'll show you a little debugging that has to happen in the script editor. But HKR. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take my circle and I'm going to take a constant type H, and I'm going to make that a float, but it comes up double because it only has the C# script name for a decimal number. So I'll just have to keep that H, K, and just double check my hint type is double. You also want to make sure you haven't changed the access to list or to tree, and R as a radius, and we will change that to double instead of integer, and we will also take that double and make that work here. We'll delete this. We'll also get rid of the distance, and we have our K, our H, and our R, which stand for the x-coordinate, y-coordinate of the circle, and the radius of the circle. Assuming the coordinate position is at the center of the circle, the center point, the sphere is created, the circle is created, and I can output A, B, C, D, but I have to do that with capitals, otherwise it will not work. So A is a sphere, capital A is a sphere, B, capital B is a center point. These are all great because they're all geometries. R, CR is the radius of the circle of the sphere. It may give us a line, but I think it's going to give us a number. We'll see what it is. Let's put it in as R. Oh, that'll just be the radius coming in, going out as an output. And the circle representing it is D. So we're going to do a capital D. And what am I doing? I'm totally messing up. It's going to be the R, but I have to leave it as the variable C, and I have to leave it as variable D. Now I can input all of these and see what they are through an n-twine node, and I can run my script and see if it works. And I get a Rhino geometry sphere, but I can guarantee you with that coming out not saying sphere, we have a goo type, which is always a problem with spheres, I find in this node. And once you do this enough time, you'll realize what happens. We've got a number here, so I'm going to leave that as number. We do have a point system and we do have a circle. So we can take, and I can tell you to predict, you'll get used to this, we've got a geometry for the, which is going to say failed from goo, and you can click over here, highlight this, and then left click on it, data conversion failed from goo to geometry. And instead of you trying to solve it yourself, you can take that as a debug, and it's a minor way to debug, and you can simply put that back in, and then you can describe on the output A. And as long as you type the words right, so it's speaking English, you should be okay on the output A. It's going to redo it, and it's going to tell you exactly what happens when that fails. The data conversion failed from goo to geometry. This typically occurs, and believe me, you'll see it time and time again when you get into circles and spheres. And then it will just correct it and rewrite your script. It may write portions of the script, but if it's a small script, and you'll be surprised what 50 lines of code can do, you can definitely jump in here. And I'm just going to take a look back and see if I have anybody watching. I have nobody watching, so I'm just data recording this for anybody that might be interested later on. And what was I looking at here? We're going to plug through here, and that goo type should have fixed itself. So I could have done it on my own by adding it down here at the bottom, the sphere type, the point, but I can go back into my script. I can take that back out. I can type it in and run it, and I'm pretty sure my geometry should work if I did it correctly. It failed from geometry again, so now I'm going to plug through and see what happened. A output failed, and I'm just going to type that, no, I'm going to type that in again as here, data conversion. Let's see what happened. Let's type it and see what happens. Okay, we have one viewer, so we can keep going with this. Let's see if it corrects that goo geometry coming out this time. The solution, instead of GUID, it will give us a geometry, and let's see if the script fixes itself. So you're learning to work with GPT-4 to learn how to script in Python and learn how to script in C. If you're just coming to this video now, I'd start at the beginning, I'd get the boilerplate downloaded, and I'd work along with this right in time to see what happens. So right again, we're here into script context, so it brought in script context library as SC, and I'm still trying to output the sphere, B, C, and there is the two NURBS surface. And if you don't have that, you're going to have goo geometry instead of geometry. And I only know that because I run into it a lot of times. So let's change the script over, put it back in the script editor, run it, and hopefully it works. It certainly did. Now we know the next geometry is a point, so you can make it a point, or you can just take a basic geometry node. It should go in fine, and I'll show you what happens when you try and put a number like a radius number through a geometry. It's going to fail, so just bypass that. Save that for the last one, leave this one plugged into here, and then do your D output, which is geometry, into here. Clean things up so they look nice, and you should be good to go. You can see all your geometry, circular curve, and I've got it in twice, so let's take that one out, and let's plug this one up here, and let's delete this one. If you don't like seeing this tree with nothing on it, you can go into the entwine and get rid of it. So you really see everything that's coming through that node. It is parametric, and then the real surprise is to jump in here and close your script, and you see the geometry it created. And there it is. You have a parametric model, and whoa. What did I do? Don't tell me I shut down. I don't want to do that. I think I hit close accidentally, so hold up a second. Let's open that back up. So for people coming who are watching new, you can go watch the video at the beginning. You can go into GitHub. Over here, you can access, once Rhino gets out of our way, Windows 8. I'm getting too fast. It's late in the day. But I think this video will actually, if I do this consistently every week or every day, people will see my system for doing it. I have no idea why I closed Rhino 8. I just was clicking the buttons too fast. But our script's working for our basic Python script from GPT-4 prompts from common function, mathematical functions. And we're going to see how it lucidly dreams and creates something more interesting for us. So let's start that again. And for those coming in right now, before I open Grasshopper, you want to go into GitHub, jump onto here, go to the Learn Python in C# and Grasshopper, click it, and download the boilerplate of the constant function GH. Load it up, and you will get exactly what I'm going to load back into here with Grasshopper. And let's try it. And like I said, I'm going to try doing this every day. I've got a kit going together for a fellow trying to get people to think about learning Python and C#. I've self-taught myself through Grasshopper into Rhino into Python into C#. And this techniques of using GPT-4, I pretty much think I'm figuring it out as I go. So let's get this loaded up. 80, 90, 100%. Hopefully your screen's not huge. There it is. So you're going to load, and I'm going to open the file I was just playing, which was my common function. I certainly hope I saved it as a new function type. Where did it disappear to? Where did I save my function? I certainly hope it saved. That would be terrible if it didn't. The linear function, this constant function, I just did all the work to get that up and running. The best thing is, if you do lose your GH files or your Rhino files, if you've made it in GPT-4, maybe I can demonstrate that, because now I have to go back and set the whole thing up again. I'm pretty sure my script is kicking around in some location. I'm not sure where I hid it on my desktop. Hopefully it showed up. Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I guess I'll just kind of walk through it again as a tutorial to how we did it. But if you come and you have a transcript, you literally, this transcript will be an older one for this. I had a file that I called circle, and I'm wondering where that file had hidden itself within here. Maybe I put it in here. And I've done so many of these recently. Polynomial formulas, the quadratics. Let's go to desktop. Should be in this section. It was algebra. I thought I had it in common functions. Maybe I just accidentally deleted the whole thing, which would be terrible, embarrassing. Frustrating. Let's do it all again. Come to the function. I'm keeping track of all my orders, so I'm going to call this one 3, and I'm going to call it circle. And this is a little frustrating. Then I'm going to go in, I'm going to change my boilerplate exactly where I need to, and I only have to change this at this point because I'm still doing common functions to circle. And I may want to give the data that drives what a circle is, And the formula I want to use is parentheses over x minus h squared plus parentheses y minus k parentheses squared equals r to the exponent squared, which will graph the circle of a radius r to the center hk. That's it. I'm pretty happy with that. That's enough of a prompt to introduce into GPT-4. Now, like I said, you don't need your Rhino files. You don't need your Grasshopper files. All you need is this transcript of typing it in, taking a load at the script, debugging it the way we did through the last session. But what I can do is I can just grab this final script that was working and my spheres were solved. I can copy that. I can come right back over to here and I can override every script that I had on there. I can delete this. I can go in. The only thing I have to do is, if I get this whole older script running, is I have to set my inputs and outputs correctly. So if I put it in and I override this function, let's load it up. Come on. It's going to have the old function that was running for my constant functions. But maybe that's what I did, was I upgraded, I didn't save this file as the newer one, even though I know I did that. So that's kind of frustrating. I'm going to go back, leave this as it was, and before I start changing any script in it, I want to save that document as exactly what I said, which was this 3, and it should have been circle. But I don't know where that function went when I last saved it. Maybe I didn't save it. But that's the new title. That's the constant function that I want to go in. And because this is my first day doing this, I'm obviously tricking up over myself, but I'll become very repetitive. Circle is in. Take my text prompt from here into circle. Sorry I have to repeat this, but boy, maybe repeating is how you figure it out. X minus h squared, and I'm looking at circle functions, plus y minus k squared equaling r to the exponent squared, which will be the graph of the circle with radius r at center hk. That's done. That's my prompt. But because I already had it and I plugged it into this script, I can go back to my GPT, go to the last element in my transcript that was working, copy it without having to code anything, just getting a code up and running, and then override this code, put it in, and the only thing I have to do is get all of my values set right. And my outputs, I don't have to set my data types, but I do have to set them to what they are, B, C, and D, but they're capitals, so I have to use capitals, D. And this is the tediousness that I think they're slowly going to make automate. And then my inputs, you see, was HKR, which means we do not need this value. This value is a numeric, a number. We need H as a double, which is technically a float because we're working in Python. We need K as a double, and we need R as a double. And we're going to do that. R is the radius. And C is actually the output of this input, so it's not doing anything to that. It's taking it in and putting it out. And it should run, except geometries won't go through planes. And points will, which is kind of nice to think about. But let's take that object in this one. And one thing you want to do to a boilerplate is you want to get rid of the other scripts that you don't need. And we'll do that over here once we get into the C component. But right now I'm going to take the C component and disable it. Because we're going to do Python, then we're going to do C, and we're going to kind of lucidly dream to what can happen. Now, what did we do a minute ago before I forgot to save this? I don't mind putting geometries that are geometry into the general geometry node, and that will work for the first, second, and fourth, because the point system will go through. The numerical radius will go through and enter as a number, and the D will be the final lines that come out. And there is our geometry that is created from that script. You can zoom extends all, and you have a parametric model that's very simple, creating a circle that then wants to, with GPT, to be something different, wants to be a sphere with a radius around it. So it actually went so far as to create a sphere from the circle that you had. And you get a parametric circle that you have full control over, and you can learn how to write in really well documented and noted Python file. You're not going to generate the first time you're scripting anything that looks this efficient and shareable. And that's why I'm using GPT like crazy for my script, because I'm going to be able to read my own script later on. It's going to be very easy to advance things. So how could I advance the script? Let's cut and paste it. Let's copy and paste it and bring it down here to the advanced section. Let's take this one and disable it. We don't need to see anything in this node because we're going to make something more advanced. And the one thing I didn't do, even though I did it on the last ones, I changed this function name to circle function. Let's be consistent. Function. And this time I think I'm going to send it to save before I erase everything. Save document. And then this one would have copied down to circle function, but I didn't do that. So circle. And this is going to be a lot longer video until I get really smooth at this. You don't need any of these inputs, you don't need any of these outputs, and you don't need any script in it. And the script is going to get really beautiful when it enters in the C#. And there's really no going back to Python unless you need some of the Python libraries. But you can run it with nothing in the script, and it's obviously working. But what will we put into it? The next prompt that I use consistently is this one. Great. Now make the script more complex model with NumPy library. Sometimes I say use complex trigonometric polynomials, but be sure to incorporate the previous logic. Ensure that the script produces 3D geometry as well for data visualization purposes. So let's copy that. And this is a style that nobody does because nobody likes free play. Everybody wants to do what the boss orders. I don't have a boss. And what happened there? I'm going to jump in and I'm going to prime it with that great comment and make this script more complex. And it will definitely do that for me. It may change my inputs, but certainly we will integrate the NumPy library to generate a more complex parametric model using multiple spheres arranged in an interesting way to ensure that the final result is suitable for data visualization. So that's it, and then it wants to do all this. It reminds the download to install NumPy, pip install NumPy into our command line or wherever we're working in whatever environment, and I can take that guide, put it in here, and this is the little fudging you have to do, which I don't enjoy doing. I don't know if people don't enjoy doing it, because I don't know how many people are interested in learning Python and C# with Grasshopper. But if you are, you want to watch these tutorials daily or whenever I put them up. And obviously this transcript is different. I think transcripts are going to be the invaluable cloud-based information that let people to learn collaboratively internationally. And so I'm firmly thinking those are my real digital assets, my transcripts. So back to our transcript. Here it is. By the time I've done that and marked it up, it's written a very nice, it outputs only A and B, so I can get rid of my C and D, which were, and this is why I like having multiple screens, because I don't like to lose sight of that. The inputs are coming in H, K, R, but there's a count and a multiplier now, so I want to jump in here and I want to add count. And sometimes I add this now count and multiplier, but what I find is even better to do is just come here, copy your code, go here, open up your script editor. I know I'm moving fast, but this is going to be very repetitive. I'm going to type in the script, and now I have what I need without it disappearing. HK count is a number of spheres to generate, which would tell me that I could just take count, copy. You'll see it's commented out because it's prepared to be parametric. I obviously want an integer value. I don't want a point sphere. I want like a decent number, and I'm going to do 12 because I can go up to 100 without slowing my script. I do not want to plug it into my Y, and I don't want an Y input. I want my want input to be a multiplier for the value radius for variable in the size of the sphere. So it's kind of building a range. But let's do the multiplier, and let's make the multiplier a double, which technically is a float, which I mentioned earlier. Let's go to 3.00, and let's take a multiplier through size. The script works. It generates spheres, it generates circles. It outputs those. It's running. And this is really how I believe, philosophically, how neural networks have been trained by positive and by reinforced learning, that when you take this away to see their geometry, then you're amazed. And that is how the computer now is treating us like a trainable device that can say, oh, I love it or I don't love it. So let's change those spheres. And you've got a nice little cluster that's being formed also in a sense of there's the 12, there's our count, which is going up. Actually, that's not the count, that's the radii, so I can take that really small down. I can move it in the X and Y direction to where I want as an origin, and I have a cluster of spheres that I could use for whatever purpose I want through a range of circles and dimensions, and I can bake it if I want, and I have a total understanding of those circle functions being written in well-documented Python script. Well done. Now, all that If you don't need the Python libraries, I'd say don't learn Python. So, I mean, if you know it, then that's fine, but let's push you into C. So let's go up here and grab this transcript. There it is. Let's copy the link. Anybody can have it. We're going to put it in here and cut and paste it in, and there you go. Anybody can take a look at that link. They know their job on Python. I'm going to say my job is done. I am going to group it. I am going to send it to my passive, beautiful Wickerson Studio Blue, and I'm also going to take my whole script and disable it. And now I want to go in and learn how to do C#. How long have we been going? We don't have anybody watching. I think we're live. I hope we're live. Let me jump to the end. I think we're still live and going. We're going to take a look at C# now. And I've only had 2 views for a total of 3 minutes and 21 seconds. But I'm going to put people over to this if they actually want to learn how to do this. And each day I'm going to do one of these. So let's go back into it. We have our title, but now we're going to change to C#. So the same thing, we're going to go in and we're going to call this function to track it 3, and we're going to call it circle. But what I may do is just call it circle and then give it another thing, C, which means I'm doing a C# script as away from the Python script. And in there, I have my prompt that I used over here in Python. It's a little different with C#, but I'm going to keep it the same here, copy that, and that prompt is going to replace where I am very specific to what's required in the C# script editor. And I just think this is an immense amount of data and information for people interested in doing this. I figured it out on my own. I'm proud of it. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete my advanced script, which we may get to with C#. I'm going to activate this one, and you'll see the difference of working C# through Python. And I really have to get this simple because it's highly complex, even though I'm doing very simple common functions. But I've found all the kind of system that kind of works for me, and this is the kind of interface that I know to make my scripts. So this one I'm going to call it the circle function. And I'm going to, for C, definitely, I'm going to remove everything because it's a very smart node editor and it will know what's plugged in. And I'm going to delete my line and I'm going to put it back in as A. And then I'm going to grab my function that was a function towards basic align geometry or constant functions. I'm going to run it so it works with nothing in it. I'm going to take my text prompt. I'm going to copy the whole thing. And I'm going to go back into my editor, and I'm going to start a new editor here because I don't want the influence of Python. I want to put it in as a C# node. I'm going to crank it, and I'm going to get some feedback for what it wants to do with C#. It is a collaborative approach to learn scripting, to have the scripting done by GPT-4, and what you would do if you partnered with it. So I think this is, every day I'll kind of do this. You can see that this is very explicit in telling me what I need. I need an HKR, and I need an object out, and I hate trying to chase this little thing, and I don't like that I can't see my whole script. So trying to move that over, I'm going to need an out object circle. It's going to do the exact same script in a short kind of way, in a C# way with the correct libraries that are required to be called in C#. It's a small script. Here it is, but it did tell us in human terms what it wants to do. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over here, hit OK. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to space it with this little technique with scripting nodes. And then I'm going to move up my script because it doesn't need to be that low. I am going to input that script over here, right here that's been copied. But in copying it, I'm going to put it into the script. And then I really can just look at this. I don't need to ask it to be parametric and tell me suggested inputs or anything. It really says what you need. And I have my H, which will be now correctly a double. I have my K, and you'll see that there's a hashtag in front of it. Not a hashtag, but an underscore. Make sure you get that. And then underscore K is going to be this object, underscore K. And if I missed that, I wouldn't know what the bug was. So it's good to know a little bit. Type hint double, and we want one more, which is underscore R. And we may take this into an advanced one because C has lots of debugging, and I've had to use what aren't the Python libraries to figure things out. And we're going to take this one out, radius as a double. We're also going to take our counts and what we have. We're going to put that in for our H. We're going to put this in for our okay. We don't want a 0 radius, or we're not going to get much. That's way too big. These numbers are way too big. I think what I'm going to do is just grab a 3.0, and I'm just going to put that in here and then copy that. Keep numbers down below 10 because I want to see my geometry and keep things scaled, reasonable. And then our out is going to be circle with a capital C, so I like to just copy and paste. I do like to copy and paste inputs and outputs so I don't mix it up. If I did that with here, I would have gotten correctly. I'm going to run it, and script error, object out, script instance, not suitable for method, out. This could be that I copied an older script, but if you have a bug in something, copy that. This one should be working. I'm going to check if I have any problem with this. RKH script instance, object, 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 out, object, not suitable method. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go here and see if GPT has a quick answer for me without me even thinking. This is kind of the way you have to go if you're doing a lot of this. The run script, signature given by Grasshopper, run script method. Did it change anything? It did lose a few of the libraries, and if it does, what I like to do is keep my other libraries for Grasshopper, kernels and things like that. So what I'm going to do is jump into here. There's the double. The inputs are being checked. I have object inputs now, which is changed. And very interesting. HK, set the 3 inputs. HK, note, grab it, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to put it back in, but I'm actually going to just put it in right to here. I don't want to miss anything again, even though it's repeating. I don't mind. I don't want to lose my other libraries. So I have a reference object, not suitable to be found, instant reference object. What have I done wrong with this? And C always gives me a little more trouble because I am still learning C in a lot of instances. Seems to say it's going to run. Let's go back in. Put in our bug. It's not bad to see this because you can see all those errors that are happening. Using run scripts, class types, run system, Rhino, kernel, public system. I find this override causes problems a lot as well, and I think it's this Rhino message that it's trying to print. We'll see. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to take it all the way up to here and print it again, keeping my other libraries. Double, double, double reference seems to be no suitable method. Name level doesn't work. I usually let it go without thinking for a few times. It's fairly apologetic. It's kind of what I like about it. It's getting less and less libraries imported as it goes. Now it's got an if statement to double check. And things that I never do through documentation to check this HKR circle. It's a simple little script, but you're trying to debug it. And we will grab that one, and we'll put that one in and run it. And we're back to the name R. Oh, we have to notice that we've lost exactly what they made us do before. So I knew that. And that's the first time I'd ever put those little underscores before the variable in. But now since I have the variable down to an error that seems familiar to me, I should be able to get it work. I think we're okay. Did we get a circle? We did. So that's it. So I was just playing around with it. And that's kind of my method. I don't frustrate myself with trying to decipher code. I just want to give it a few tries to solve itself. I learned the transcript. I learned things about debugging that I didn't know before. And to me, this is a great teaching method for things like C#, because I'm pretty comfortable with Python, but I like this breakdown of what's happening. We're going to run into the same type of problems, but you can see that you have a very nice circle function that's written really nice with dependable libraries that don't leave the using system or the geometry again here, which I had. And I'm going to leave in all the libraries. Otherwise, even though it doesn't say it needs it, it got rid of that override, which I know can be a problem. It's got my inputs, my output, my if statement, the test, the radius must be a positive number, and it outputs that circle. And there's much faster ways to get there. And you're saying, why don't I just use the circle node? Well, the trick is you're trying to get down to learning well-documented C script. So let's see what happens when we take this from a basic script into something a little more complex. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to move that down here into the advanced section. I'm going to turn off just like I did on Python. I'm going to make this disabled. And then I'm going to go into that script once again, but this time I'm going to open it up and neutralize that whole script because I don't want it to depend on anything. It will have these inputs that can kind of influence it. Like I said, because it's kind of smart and has a memory. I'm not sure why, but maybe because computers are getting smarter and smarter. And we're going to take this little prompt. Great, now make the script much more complex using C# script in Rhino Common API. Be sure to incorporate the previous code logic and ensure the same type of thing that I did with the Python nodes. So let's take that, jump into our prompt, and this is the one that does slow me down a little more, even though I didn't expect to run into the problems I just did. Let's type it in, and let's see what comments of what it lucidly dreams, because this is why I want to run a class next term called Lucid Dreaming with OpenAI, and this will be one of the processes to do that. And I think there's an art to this, and there's a way to figure it out. The only thing I regret now is getting rid of everything, so I'm going to go back, and I'm actually only going to get rid of here, because I don't want to lose all these dependencies which are common to the script editor. And even though my script may want to cut them out, I find it doesn't really know writing that C script that I'm using this new script editor, and I don't know how smart GPT-4 is towards the logistics of running a script editor in Rhino 8 beta. Boy, this is a lot of information that I'm shooting at you. I think I'm still recording. How long have we been going? I don't know. Maybe we're not recording. I don't know. No, we're recording. We should still be there. Hopefully this is still recording. End stream. Check. Checkpoint Charlie. I'm just looking at the time. I'm kind of scanning through it. Yeah, we've been going long. This is almost an hour. Something that I should get these scripts down to like 10 minutes. So we plugged it in. We have a human response right here. Which is nice, great. Now let's make it to expand the previous script. This is what I'm going to do. And you can read that if you choose to be human. But I'm just going to put it in here, and I'll read it if necessary later. I'd rather visually see what I need to do. I'm just going to tab. I'm going to enter through so this doesn't become one long string, because that's how Scribble tools are set up. It'd be nice if I could customize that not to be that. But there's our text, and we've got our panel here. And we're going to take a look at that C script as we cut and paste it over. And hopefully it works on the first try, which it probably won't. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it in my script tool. It's going to tell me what I need. I'm going to need many, many more things. HRZ double. So we're going to go to a Z. And that's okay to leave it as a double. Then I need an min-r double. So I need to input that. And that will come up here. Min-r double. And I could ask for suggestions on the values that should be on there. And then I should be fine to have my circle output. So I could think about what that min-r double would be. And I'm going to make it something here. Min-r double versus Z, and make it a little smaller. And I can then try and run my script output circles and lines. And if I don't put in lines, because C# is such a smart language, it's going to default on me and tell me I'm not doing lines. And lines are a geometry. So with anything, chance of C working on the first try is very slow, not exactly possible. And there it is. I have an R max. I must have missed it. Min lines. I put in a min. A max R does not exist in the current setup. And yet here it is wanting the max R, which there it is. Why did it not incorporate that? Let me close this. I'll open that editor again. Let me go back into this and see. I thought there'd be another double there. This is the one thing I don't like about the script editor is you can't see the full thing, so you have to move over in this script and take a look at what you're missing. And there's that max double that I missed. So I did mix a max R. I have to wonder why this didn't copy everything and then put in all the information. Why did that not copy everything? That's a little frustrating. So let's put it in, and now we have that max. I was wondering where it was in a range. Let's grab that max, and let's make that a max on a slider. Let's make sure we put it to double, or else we won't have a data type, which is not good. It's actually fairly repetitive, and figuring out these objects is pretty fun, and this is debugging for you everything you need. And then I have an output, and I have my min, and where was the X I just saw? Let's test it again. Min r is a duplicate error. The name min r. Because I typed min r, not max r. Now, why is that doing that? Why is that saying min r when I cut it in, when I'm actually cutting and pasting from here, and I have integer number? This is very strange that this is not recording what it. I've got my min, I've got my max double m, have my integer number, and yet that's not being cut and pasted in. Copy the code. That's very strange. So this not to be pulling in, I must be missing something. Yeah, there it is. Now it's in. That's very strange. It's almost like I grabbed the other a wrong code somewhere. Why would that have not? Oh, because it's overriding. It's a smart node when it's connected. This will change what was there. I see. That's why you want nothing in it when you start. And then I want this to be num. I don't know how much it updated the X through here, but that it's trying to make updates. That's a weird little editing bug that's going to drive you crazy. And the object number, I'm going to put in 12 as an integer, and my back's killing me. And you can see that it's updating everything. But that's something that's telling me, don't even bother with this. Go into the node and restart over. And this is why I have had trouble with C, because as you input these things, this min duplicate error, it's back to saying min instead of the max. And that's just a weird little things you got to catch on the script editor. Operator and operands for the object type integer are not working. The circle's name is circles now, not circle singular. And lines is lines. So let's see if we can clean up one of those errors. And now we've got a less than equal to cannot be applied to the object type int because it's a Boolean operator. So let's take this, copy that, go back to our script, and try and fix those two bugs with letting GPT-4 figure it out. So we've hit on a lot of little crazy little things in here, and hopefully by seeing what I'm doing, I have no fear that I will figure out something as I plug through it, because I've had so much success in writing scripts and nodes. Like I've produced hundreds of these as files in the last month playing with GPT-4, and it just goes on and on and on. It moves into learning Python, learning C#. But what's nice is my code is being generated infinitely faster than I could generate it. So as we go in here and check out this code and try and slide through it, there are these little things that bother me here that I have to slide this. Got to kind of grab it, make it white. We're going to have lines, circles, numbers, max, so that the variables are correct. We're going to try and cure those operators that weren't functioning well for less than and greater than and equal to. So we're hopefully going to get this as a list out. We're going to copy this code. And I kind of like the debugging. I have no problem with it. I think it's fun to get closer and read your script again and again until you get something that works. And those operators are not going to work for type integer. So I am going to say just here, list what the list, I'm going to say suggest the input values and list the input data types, and this will just solve any questions I have around it as to whether I'm inputting correctly. And I'll bet I don't have a list set right. We'll see. And so a number parameter for x coordinate, a y coordinate, h, k, z, the vertical distance between the circles, okay, the minimum, the max, radius, and the number, the parameter for the number of circles. What do they suggest? Well, they suggest set this to 0, so that's kind of nice. Set this to 0, I'm pretty sure. And this is once again why I don't like using it on the same screen. Z as 5, so I can slide that up to 5. And then 1 and 10, so we will go up to 5 or around 5. We'll go to 1 and 10. Take it up to 10. And what was the other suggestion? What they are, integer parameter, set 5 the number. Everything else should be set. And I'm still wondering why I have, and I'm going to show you a little cheat that I think I like to do. We're going to type this in. We have those same errors. I'm just going to throw this in there because I've had a lot of success with it. Can you use link to solve this bug? And I just find it, I don't even know what it does. Type mismatches. The error types are likely because passing an object type and to inputs to the methods, and the code is trying to perform operations using these inputs that were the type integer or double. You can fix this by casting and converting the object's types inputs to the correct type before performing the operations. So hopefully it figures it out. So now you've got these ORs slipped in here. The script's kind of looking a little different than what it was, or maybe it was set up like that. Where's the script going to change? You could spend time looking at it. You could spend time trying to debug this, going to Stack Overflow. GPT-4 is the bomb for novice scripters like myself that want to get things up and running and seeing script well written and well readable. So no guarantee this is going to work, but I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to put it right in pretty fast and type it in and hit go. And we've hit name H. What it's done is it's messing with me again under these underscores, which is just strange that it would shift back to that. So I'm going to go into here, and I know to be watchful of that now, because this is like the world of everything, it seems. Let's click it and see if we can get rid of that H. Good. And let's click it and get rid of that K. And GPT does this for you to keep you on your toes. I really think it just messes with you to drive you crazy. And then we've even got underscores on the min and max. That's nice because that's a technique so you don't use keywords or anything, which totally makes sense to me. And then probably num. No. What? I better just put it in here manually because I think it changed itself. And num is one that needs it as well. That's strange that it's remembering. There is a weird thing happening. You can see it here. What I'm running into is it's updating and trying to change my inputs because I'm playing with it. And this is new to me today. So getting into these little micro problems and solving it, invalid input types, invalid, please provide valid numbers. I'm not getting any geometry valued. Why are my number types not working? This one is supposed to be a double, so I don't know what's wrong with that. This one's supposed to be a double, an object. Why is number an object? That's curious. Probably because I've left it as object and I forgot to put it as integer. Absolutely. So you're always going to find that it's human error that's messing up everything you're doing, and here are our circles. What a lovely lucid dream in using advanced scripting with circles. That is a very large hour tutorial problem solving, totally Wickerson Studio chaotic style, and if it's something you like and you think you can learn from it, then tune in. Get my transcripts. I'm going to copy this one here. And trust me, it's quite an experience, and it's quite rewarding to be trained by the computer to realize that you've generated a pretty nice C# advanced script, written out, fully commented, with its catches, its try accepts, its comments through it. I'm very proud of this node. And honestly, I went into it thinking of basic math and custom. To build this, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to group that. I'm going to say I'm very happy with what came out of that. And every day or week, I'm going to generate something like this, a Python and a C# node that does something that you can then produce some geometries through it. We have that one, and we have the advanced Python script, which chose to generate this object. So those are your two objects you've made, and I actually prefer this one over the other one. I think we've got a nice little cluster of scripts teaching you C# and Python with GPT-4 text prompts. Applaud and ovate and throw money, $100 bills if you like. I'm feeling pretty happy about this. And we will end that today. We will take a file save, and we're going to just take a little snapshot of it, which is very exciting. We'll go into snipping tool and grab a little rectangle, and we'll grab that node, and boy, that was hammering through that stuff. I'll time and date it at the bottom to show where it was. We're going to save that file as our common factors, as our 004 circle without the GH file, and that is our matching picture, and I'm going to load that up on LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can follow along and learn how to make C# and Python with GPT-4 text prompts. Absolutely love it. So that is all. End stream. And dismiss. And OBS.